and thanks for joining us. And I have with me Anna Wethereld, who I'm going to be presenting together. And we're going to basically, for the next hour, look at what's new in maths methods, and that is the revised course. But we're also going to introduce you to the Nelson, the new Nelson Math series. Do you want to say hello, Anna?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this afternoon, and I look forward to a productive afternoon with you.
Yep. And also joining us on the line is Amanda Cunnington, whom a lot of you may know, is the sales manager in Queensland for Nelson Cengage, and she'll be answering your questions tonight as well. As Susanna said, if you've got any questions, you just type them up in the Q&A. And Amanda will also come on at the end briefly to have a bit of a chat with us. Okay, so basically Nelson Maths is a new series, and it's written by three Queensland authors, Lachlan, Grierson, Sam Hodgson, Anna Wethereld. And the series editor is Stephen Swift, who you may remember was the lead author from the Nelson Q Maths, but he's retired from teaching now, and he's sort of passing on the baton to this new team of experienced Queensland teachers. So basically, we're publishing for Essential Maths, General Maths, and Maths Methods. So in years 11 and 12. We won't be publishing for Specialist Maths just yet. We haven't decided what we're going to do with that, but however, we're still going to publish the Q Maths, the current edition of Q Maths for Specialist Maths, because we found that the syllabus hasn't changed too much, and you will still be able to teach from it. Okay, we've also been working very hard in the background, and we've been over the years we've published our year 7 to 10 series of Nelson Maths, and it's a unique series for the new Australian curriculum in that it offers 2 levels of textbook in years 9 and 10. So there is a year 9 advanced, year 10 advanced, and that's written especially for those students who are heading towards maths methods and specialist maths in years 11 and 12. So it goes through the course, the years 9 and 10 topics at a faster pace, but it also covers a lot of those extension topics that are prerequisites for years 11 and 12 methods and specialist. This is the price of these books, $79.95, and they will be published in October and November, ready for schools to start implementing the new revised syllabus in 2025 next year. Okay, now Anna, would you like to unpack, now that you've written the year 11 book, can you give us some of your insights on the new syllabus, please?
Oh, most certainly, Robert. I actually was really glad to see the new version of the syllabus come out. I think the QCEE has done a really good job of eliminating some of that ambiguity that actually existed in the old syllabus, in that, they've made things that were implicit now much more explicit. I think there's added clarity by outlining all of the formulas that are required of our students to know. And I think the teaching sequence originally wasn't as smooth as it could be, but now when we look at the construction of units 1 through 4, there is a much more logical flow to the way in which the content is actually presented. So that would be, in a nutshell, how I see the new syllabus is.
Okay. Okay, so the major domains of mathematical methods, and it hasn't changed. It's still primarily the same course, but as Anna said, things have been shifted, moved between units, so that it makes more logical sense where they are. So we've still got algebra, functions, relations and their graphs, calculus and statistics. But before we start looking at what's covered in the syllabus, one new thing that they've mentioned at the syllabus at the front of it is science of learning. And they talk about strategies for retaining and recalling information for assessment using current research into cognitive science. And when we read that, we thought, oh, this is great, because we've actually, even before we knew that, knew any of this, we had designed the books the series to include all these things, because at Nelson we're very strong with pedagogy and also learning styles. And these are 3 memory techniques that you might know about that have been promoted by QCEA. So they're called the spacing effect, the retrieval effect, and interleaving. So let me go through each of these briefly as best as I can. So the first one's called the spacing effect, where you leave gaps between your, if you're studying, you leave gaps between each learning concepts from the same topic. So there's 3 different, like this diagram shows 3 different methods. The first method demonstrates the spacing. So every half hour of study, you have a break, and then a short break, and then you start studying again. So you're studying in short spurts. And then the middle one is you study for 1 hour, and then you take a short break between each study session. And then the last one's called you study actually for 4 hours without a break. Now, it's not surprising that the first one is the most effective, because basically what happens is if you have a rest and return to concepts during your study and learning periods, that enhances retention, that deepens your long-term memory. And so that's as opposed to learning all the concepts in a single block. So sometimes you could call this binge learning or cramming. And you know that students who cram the night before an exam might do a little bit better in the exam the next day, but for the bigger exam later on, they will have forgotten all that stuff. And yesterday I was telling Anna that that I sort of experienced something like this a while back. I'd never seen the Star Wars movies, the Star Wars trilogy, the middle one. And then one Christmas, I decided to watch all 3 over 3 days. And so I was binge watching it. But if you ask me what the plot of those and the characters of those movies are, I couldn't tell you, because I've forgotten it completely. So the spacing strengthens long-term memory. So leaving a gap between each study session, each learning session, strengthens the deeper learning. And that's because the brain needs time to process and absorb new knowledge. And then there's the retrieval effect. The retrieval effect is that basically quizzing yourself or revising, testing yourself after you've done your study period. So this graph here shows an experiment where everyone studied for 7 minutes, and then they were broken off into 2 different groups. One group, I guess that's the control group, studied more, just did another 7 minutes of study, but the other group took a practice test to revise the work. So it's not a formal test, but it's more of a quiz. Just quizzing themselves, or even a short written quiz. Now, what happened when they did a final test after 5 minutes? Those students who studied more did actually do better than those who just who took a quiz. But if the final test was taken 2 days later, you can see the differences. So, I mean, both groups did forget things, but the students who did a quiz after their period of study did much better than the students who just continued studying. And then after 1 week, again, everyone did a little bit worse, but the students who did the practice test did significantly better than those students who just studied up in blocks. So the retrieval is revising and testing yourself, and basically taking short drills and quizzes. And that's opposed to learning a topic and never being quizzed or having learning feedback. So these deliberate memory exercises do build key knowledge, and struggling to remember things is actually good, because the more the struggle, the more the learning will stick. And then finally, we have something called interleaving, which I think everybody's heard about. And that is basically mixing up your topics and not learning the same topic for weeks on end. So we've got topics A, B, C, and D. And A could be measurement, B could be calculus, C could be statistics, D could be algebra. Okay, so mixing it up or interleaving means spending 1 week on one topic, but then going to another topic the second week, and so on. Or the weeks can be variable as well, like the periods. Now, mixing it up does go hand in hand with spacing and retrieval, because you are leaving gaps between your learning sessions, and you are also, when you go back to your learning session from that topic, you are retrieving as well. So interleaving aids long-term recall, whereas blocking, learning things in one block, can lead to boredom or forgetting. I mean, another disadvantage, if you did, like, I know some schools like to start year 7 with like 5 weeks of algebra, which I think is terrible. The other bad thing about that is if you do that, then those students won't be meeting algebra again till the end of the year, or if at all. So it is good to mix it up. And the other outcome that they've found in the research is that by learning multiple concepts, students have more opportunities to distinguish between related concepts in the different topics. So they'll see the link between statistics and probability, or between number and algebra and measurement. So they get to see a bigger picture, and they appreciate the differences. And finally, this is a quote straight from the syllabus: interleaving can seem counterintuitive. Participants often felt that they had learned more with the blocked study, but when tested, the testing actually indicated greater learning through the interleaving approach. Anna, do you have anything to add? No.
No, I think we've done a really good job with this particular textbook in taking the progression that the QCEE has suggested and integrating the science of learning into it, and the spacing and retrieval. When you see for example, the gaps between units such as quadratic equations and linear equations, how they've been compartmentalised but put round relevant other topics.
Yeah, I guess this leads really well into this next slide. Do you want to unpack this a bit more, Anna?
I'm happy to, if you like, Robert.
Yep.
So one of the design principles that we actually used not only was that science of learning, but also looking at how, when we put together our various different exercises within a chapter, that we optimized the learning progression. So in every exercise, you will see that the first 2 questions will be recap questions, where they are drawn from the previous material, or usually the material that would be contained in the previous lesson. Then you'll have a section that focuses on mastery of the content related to that section. And then at the end, we've been very deliberate in putting an exam practice question area. And this in Year 11 focuses on exam style questions, because as we all know, we do not do an EA in Year 11. We're not assessed on Year 11 material in the EA at the end of Year 12. And the other unique thing is at the end of every chapter, we've put 2 cumulative exams, which we'll talk about a little bit more later on, but these mimic the style of the EA QCE exams.
Okay, so this is an example of how we've done interleaving. So we've actually showing you here the table of contents of both the Year 11 book and the Year 12 book, so units 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is hard to mix it up when there's so many calculus, so many functions topics, but we've tried our best, and we've also had to put those topics or chapters in the correct unit areas. But there is a logical way of introducing topics, so it's not completely random. But you can see there what we've done. And so that students do get both a mix of topics, mix of chapters, as well as getting a logical progression of them. Okay, so now it's time to quickly go through the changes, or go through the syllabus, but also to highlight the changes in the syllabus. So what we've done here is we've highlighted what's different. So we won't be explaining every dot point, but we'll point out things that have changed. So Unit 1, Topic 1 is a new topic called surds and quadratic functions. The surds is new, but the quadratic functions isn't, but they've been grouped in a different way. So surds is operations with surds, rationalizing the denominator, Then we've got quadratic functions, the discriminant quadratic modeling. You'll notice that sequences and series is no longer part of the course now. And then what's been moved to Unit 2 is index laws, fractional indices, and scientific notation. I think it's been moved to the exponential functions topic, so it's more logical there. And then at the bottom of the screen, you'll see how the chapter numbers and names. So we cover these concepts in the first 2 chapters of the book. Okay. Topic 2, Anna?
Yep, in topic 2, as you can see, quite a bit of it is still common to the course in the previous syllabus. The slightly new areas is binomial theorem, which aligns nicely with all of our algebraic calculus work that we've done. We've still got our polynomials in there, but they have removed factor theorem and factorising cubics and graphing those equations to higher powers such as quartics. And the other new thing that has been added in there is cubic modelling, which really gives a nice culmination to all of that work around polynomials up to degree 3. So that's that content is dispersed over chapter 1 and chapter 3 in the textbook.
Okay, topic 3 is functions and relations, which is a topic that we all know and love. That we sort of, it's the start of the functions work. Let's see. There's not much change there. It's covered in chapters 3 and 6. What has been removed is formal coverage of general transformations of the general f of x graph. So we still talk about transformations, but now we relate them to specific functions. So now you'll see that every equation that's given of a curve, so circles, they'll be of the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, and hk being the center of the circle. So the center's been translated to hk. And then we've got these new square root functions here, and you'll notice it's the same format. It's a times the square root of x minus h plus k. So the transformations are there, they're implied, but they're not explicit. So we no longer talk about transforming f of x generally, but we talk about transforming each of these individual functions, and the same with the hyperbola there. And then the new thing is modeling with these relations and reciprocal functions. Okay, Anna, no changes to topic 4?
No changes to topic 4. Well, actually, there was a big change that actually came from Unit 2, but it really makes a lot of sense for it to be placed in topic 1 because we've dealt with transformations of an array of different other types of functions. So again, bringing our trigonometric functions in here and looking at those transformational versions, it makes logical sense as we're moving through that content.
Okay, and then finally, I think probability is the last topic in Unit 1. Oh, no change at all, very straightforward, still in Unit 1 and still in a chapter called probability. Anna?
So now in the Unit 2 is where we start to see a little bit more of the change. And as I think Robert mentioned, there's about 10% of the change. So these big changes tend to occur in topic 2. We've had all of the indicial material move from Unit 1, and we've also seen the removal of those different types of exponential functions there, which I think really condenses down the topic to be the vital materials that students need to know and that they will access later on when we deal more we deal with exponential functions in topic 3. So again, been moved, simplified some additional material in there.
Okay, topic 2 of Unit 2, all the logarithms concepts are now in one topic. So it's called logarithms and logarithmic functions. So in the past, they were split across 2 units. So we've got the logarithms, exponential equations, the log laws, and then we go straight into the log functions, logarithmic modeling. And I guess the big change is that discrete random variables, which we used to teach in year 11, is now being taught in year 12.
Mm-hmm. And I think, Robert, the other nice thing with this rearrangement of log laws into the year 11 space is that it creates a a nice differential between what the Year 12 expectations are around differentiation of different types of functions, and moves all of the foundational work into the Year 11 space. And also the aligning of the discrete random variable material with the statistical section in Unit 3 is makes the progression much more smooth for students.
Okay, so would it be correct to say you learn all about the functions in Year 11, and then you learn how to differentiate and integrate them in Year 12?
Effectively, yes. You learn the foundations of differentiation with nice, simple equations in Year 11, and then Year 12, definitely move on to more complex styles of differentiation.
Okay. Topic 3 is Introduction to Differential Calculus. No big surprises there, no changes, pretty straightforward. Of course, the differentiation is not going to change anyway. Okay. Topic 4, Anna, would you like to go?
Yeah, so topic 4 doesn't have, it has that one great big move where they've taken our optimization problems and have put that into the Year 12 space. But there is that lovely inclusion of the equation to the normal, and I think that was probably quite a heated discussion we've had in our staff room over the years about whether or not to include the equation of a normal or not to. I suppose you could say I'm on team normal, but that's because it provides a nice avenue for you to do some challenging, less familiar style problems in there. But otherwise, in essence, topic 4 is very similar to what it was in the previous syllabus.
Okay, and the same, well, nothing's changed with topic 5. Those 3 rules still apply, and we also mix them up as well. So that's chapter 12 in the Year 11 book. Okay, and that is units 1 and 2, and it's probably, would it be correct to say that's all the changes to maths methods, because I don't think there's really any change in Year 12 and units 3 and 4.
No. Not really at all. You've just got those sort of consequential changes of moving things like the discrete random variables into Year 12, but the significant changes are really contained in that Year 11 space.
Okay, so units 3 and 4, as you can see, is mostly differentiation and integration. So we've got the discrete random variables coming in at in Unit 3 at Chapter 4, and then we've got the good old sine and cosine rules topic that's still there. And then we always end with the sampling and proportions and the confidence levels. Okay, so
topic
go on. Yep.
Topic 1, basically no changes. It's that differentiation of our exponential and log functions. So again, I think that sequences quite nicely from the Year 11 work now that we've got all the functional foundations taught that little bit earlier.
Okay, so topic 2 is the same thing, but with the trig functions, sine and cos, and then followed by modeling with the derivatives of the trig functions, and then followed by applying the chain product and quotient rules to all the exponential, logarithmic, and trig functions.
And then really, topic 3 brings it all together, because by this stage in the course, we've now covered all of the types of functions effectively that students need to deal with, and we're starting to look at the second derivative and those practical applications involving kinematics, acceleration, velocity, and displacement. And there's also a lot more usage of technology in this space as we actually look at and graph things, and as we enter into optimization and practical problems.
Yeah, you just reminded me, in the syllabus, that's what's new. There's a lot. You'll see the phrase with or without technology a lot. So students are expected to be able to do things like differentiate. Graph with or without, without technology.
And I think, Robert, you've also reminded me, one of the things all of us as authors have done, the 3 of us authors have done, is really try to identify those opportunities for technology to be integrated in there, and providing instructions on a couple of different models, or the most common models of calculators that we're aware are being used across Queensland schools.
Okay, after differentiation comes integration. So that's topic 4, and that's covered in chapter 5, called anti-differentiation. and no real surprises there.
No, and topic 5 of Unit 3, this is that section that was moved from Unit 2. So there really is no new material. It's just in a slightly different place within the course. And again, that adds to that logical flow through of material.
Okay. Oh, and there's more. It's quite a big topic, isn't it?
Sorry, and yes, you've also got from Unit 3, we've moved more of the discrete random variable material. So you've got your Bernoulli triangles, binomial variables, and the thing that I do like in this particular topic, the clarification around the language of probability. I think that's really, again, a nice improvement in this syllabus.
Yeah. Okay. So sorry, that should say move from Unit 2. So from year 11 to 12. Yep. Okay, into Unit 4, and we'd start doing more integration. And this is the area under a curve stuff, and the trapezoidal rule, total change integration problems, including motion. And this has been moved from Unit 3. So it's in Chapter 6, which is called Integration and Areas.
And then you've got topic 2, trigonometry. This is again exactly the same as what it was in the previous syllabus. So there really is that emphasis on both the ambiguous case of the sine rule, practical applications involving area, and our students being able to use trigonometry that involves variable bearings, directions, angles of elevation, depression in both 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional spaces.
Okay. Topic 3 is another long topic involving continuous random variables, but nothing really has changed. I noticed that it now says under normal distribution that tables are not required, so they're being QCEE are being quite explicit about that. So that now appears in our books as year 12 book as Chapter 8. Then we get to the harder statistics stuff that makes many teachers, including ourselves, nervous. And we look at topic 4, which is sampling and proportions. The good news is that it hasn't changed. So we don't have to learn any new theory about sampling and proportions. And that's covered in Chapter 9. And I think finally, the last one, Anna?
Yep, is our interval estimates for proportions. So again, we're very lucky. There is no change in this particular area. Other than, as Robert said, we've clarified the content within the textbook and tried to really highlight, or will be highlighting, where the use of technology is appropriate.
Okay, now we just for completeness, we've also included the changes to specialist maths, but we're not going to go through this because we don't have time. But you can get a copy of this presentation, this PowerPoint, so you can go through it yourself. And I know only a smaller group of teachers teach specialist maths, so they'd be excited or annoyed to hear some of these changes. I think basically with specialist maths, there's just things have been clarified. Where the syllabus was vague in the past, they've actually started to put in a bit more detail. I even suspect that QCEE have looked at our previous edition of our textbook and realized, oh, we forgot to add that part that's implied in the topic, so we'll have to spell it out a little bit more. But Unit 1, some things removed. When I say new, I mean more to do with things being clarified. Okay, Unit 2, some things removed. So I guess it is not so jam-packed now, the course. Okay, Unit 3. And I guess my point is that you can still teach this course with our previous edition of Nelson Q Maths, because all that detail, even though it's written as new here, it was implied in the old syllabus, so we have got it included in our Q Maths textbook. And Unit 4 there. Yep, mostly clarification. So we've got the logistic equation, Newton's law of cooling and radioactive decay, but it wasn't there explicitly before. So I just wanted to talk to you about the new Nelson Maths series. So it does replace Nelson Q Maths, and we've really updated it because when we wrote Nelson Q Maths, we didn't have an exam. We only had a syllabus, And so we didn't really know what to emphasize, but now we've had 4 years of QCE exams, so we can learn from that. We've also have a formula sheet, and we can include that as well. And now we have a more detailed syllabus. So all these things have allowed us to completely revamp the series and make it explicitly mapped to the QCAA syllabuses and past QCE exams. And this is something often that our competitors don't do. They just keep publishing the same book, but just revising the questions a little bit, but they're not tailoring it to the new syllabus. So the things we want to accentuate about Nelson Maths is that it is written by Queensland teachers who have taught and now marked the new QCE courses, so they can provide expert study and exam advice. And we couldn't do that in the last edition. And it is an original Queensland series. It's not an adaptation of a Victorian text. Inside, you will find strong and explicit curriculum mapping. We'll have a syllabus grid, and we'll also have syllabus extracts at the front of each chapter. We've got a variety of exercise questions. We'll include the simple to complex, familiar, unfamiliar questions. We'll include exam style questions. And when we get to year 12, we'll actually integrate actual past QCE exam questions in the correct place, in the correct chapter where they go. So students starting year 12 will be practicing for the QCE exam from day one, because they will see those questions that they can practice on. They don't have to wait till the end of the year to do that. And then also we now have exam question analysis, which is we take a past exam question, and we just pull it apart, and we discuss how students should interpret the question and how they should answer the question. We've also got exam hacks, which are special tips from expert teachers and markers. Okay, so Anna's going to sort of talk about what her experience has been like in writing, has been being part of the author team that wrote the Maths Methods book.
Thanks, Robert. For me, it's been actually really invigorating being able to take all of our learnings from previous books, but have this new, fresh lens when we're developing the new series. And one of the things that we've tried to be very, very deliberate in is taking the syllabus and creating a textbook that talks to that document. Now, all of us as teachers have things that we absolutely love or favourite areas to teach, and I think a lot of textbooks or textbook writers like to include that material in there, which provides opportunity for exploration and things like that. We, on the other hand, have taken our love, but made sure that we've mapped that in with the content that the syllabus is expecting students to encounter. So the textbook is the Year 11 textbook is currently 12 chapters and around 600 pages in length. We've used the language and the pedagogy of Queensland teachers and of the QCAA document. We've been really careful in the way in which we put the content together to be reflective of the units as outlined in the syllabus, but also looking at that science of learning. And as Robert said, in all of our exercises, we have designed in Year 11 exam style questions. There are one or two Year 12 exam questions that we've managed to adapt within that Year 11 space, but all of our questions, particularly in exam practice, are reflective of the styles of questions that students will encounter in Year 12. And at the end of the chapters, you've got those mini QCE exams. And again, those particular little exams we've written to reflect what students will encounter at the end of this course in Year 12. And we'll show you a little bit about what that looks like in a few moments.
Yeah, actually, we can show you now. This is the sample chapter from the Year 11 Methods book, and it's chapter 3 called Functions and Relations. And Anna actually wrote this chapter. And so it's like a model chapter where we can sort of go through the chapter with you and show you all the different features. So a chapter always starts off with this double page spread, and then on the left hand side you've got the table of contents giving you an idea of what's covered in the chapter, and then on the right hand side you've got the syllabus coverage where we take the dot points straight out of the syllabus along with its relevant page number, and we show you exactly what we cover in this chapter. So we're making ourselves accountable here, and our competitors often don't do this because they don't cover everything. They just cover what they think students need to know. And then after the syllabus coverage, we've also got what's called a Nelson MindTap chapter resource box, where we list all the different resources that are available online on our learning platform, which is called Nelson MindTap. So we've got things like videos, we've got prior learning exercises, we've got worksheets, we've got TI Inspire instructions, because some schools use that, and we've also got spreadsheets, and then that's followed by a terminology list of important phrases that students will meet in this chapter. Okay, and then the first part of this chapter is called relations. You'll notice that we don't have slabs and slabs of text because we are teaching to Generation Z or Generation Alpha now. So it's really important that they see information explained quickly, using diagrams, lots of graphics, lots of infographics as well, and the important thing is getting to the point. So these students are used to reading things on screens rather than in a book, and on websites. So it's important that we try to teach and get the message across as simply as possible. Anna, what else do we notice on this page?
Well, a couple of things to sort of pull out. As Robert said, we're entering into Generation Alpha space, so we need our narrative within the textbook to be clear, concise, and straight to the point, and that we don't include in there any of the extraneous beautiful maths that isn't necessarily needed. So as you can see here, in the first line, we effectively are making the definition of a set. We're highlighting key terms in bold and blue, and then what we also can see on the page here is in our worked example that we have highlighted in green cognitive verbs that students should be aware of, and also these are key terms that are then used in our external examination. So knowing how to answer those things is important.
Yep, and we've got these, like there's also a hint at the bottom of the page as well. Yes. No, that's fine. So teachers are always thinking about, helping the student. There's actually a lot of love and care that the authors are providing when they're writing these pages, and they're doing basically what a good teacher would do anyway, give them these special tips. Okay, yeah, so, and then we've also got things like anything that's important is summarized in a shaded blue box like this. And again, I just wanted to highlight that we don't like having, you'll be hard pressed to find like a paragraph that goes for more than half a page. And then you'll notice that in the corner here on the left-hand side, we've got these little icons. Anna, what do these icons represent?
So these icons represent additional materials that you have access to. So in this particular instance, it's a functions and relations worksheet. So if your student needs additional material or explanation, those are these types of resources that you'll find on this particular illustration on the left-hand side of the textbook. So they're all part of the Nielsen Net materials that Robert will talk a little bit about later on.
Okay, and what do you? So
so on this page, again, as Robert said, we've got lots of different diagrams to illustrate what the content is actually talking about, so students can see and make sense of the material. We bring important things not only into those shaded boxes, but we will often represent material in tables so that it's just the really salient information that's there. In the worked example on the right-hand side of the screen, I wanted to draw your attention to the inclusion of an exam hack. And this is a really common mistake that students make, which is assuming that the zeros are directly between the minimum and maximum. So that's a really good illustration of a common error that we've seen when we've both marked the external exams, but also as teachers, that I'm sure you've got students doing that in your classroom. So we want to point students' attention to things not to do or things to do to help them optimise their marks.
Yep, that's great. Okay, so now we come to an example that involves technology, or the graphics calculator. So what graphics calculators do we feature in this series, in the methods books?
So in the methods books, we have gone with the TI-84 Plus CE as well as the Casio CG 20, as these were the most common devices that we've seen being used across schools in Queensland. And
Okay,
this is, yep. And Robert, I'll let you take over.
Okay, all right. So we also know that some schools use TI Inspire. So it's TI Inspire CX2 to be exact. So we also provide those instructions online on the Nelson MindTap website. Okay. Oh, now we come to the exercises, which we talked about before, but we're going to retrieve that information now. We're going to practice what we preach. So what are the 3 types of exercises in questions that you find in a typical exercise?
So in a typical exercise, you'll find the recap, which will be the first 2 questions. Those will take 2 different forms, either a short response or a multiple choice style item, and that is directly drawn from the material that students should have previously encountered within this chapter. Then you move on into the mastery section. So here in this particular exercise, modelling with cubic functions, there's not a lot of mastery there because we've covered that content in exercises 3.1 through 3.6. But what you can then see is the 3rd section, which is our exam practice. Now these we have tried to structure as expected by the QCEE and that you would see on an external exam. We've identified where appropriate, if a question is in the complex familiar or complex unfamiliar, well, if it's of that style. There is also in some exercises, simple familiar questions will also appear. Where they're not tagged, that means that they are simple familiar. In this particular exercise, none of the exam practice questions have been labelled as being from an existing QCE exam. In the year 12, you will see an additional indication of where we've drawn those questions from those tools. And this is a nice model, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we haven't written the year 12 books yet, but when we do, it will look something like this, and we'll try to include every well, there's only been 4 years worth of exams, so we're going to try to include every past exam question in the book. Oh, well, actually 5 years by the time we start writing, hopefully. So every question will have a tag like the one at the top of the page, like QCEE 2021, paper 1, question 16. So that is the aim, and so this time next year we hope to be showing you these ones. And then we get to the end of end of the chapter. So when we get to the end of the chapter, what happens, Anna?
So at the end of all chapters, we've included an exam question analysis. And this is where we've picked a question that we think is really indicative of the style of question that could exist on an external examination. Now, this is quite a short question that we've got here, and you can see that we've highlighted the really important information to illustrate to students one way of unpacking a question. Then we actually have that little title, reading the question, which breaks down further what a student should be thinking about or identifying as they actually engage with the question. And there's the additional question there about further thoughts that they should have around how to actually engage with the problem itself. And then we've provided a fully worked solution, and we've indicated there where the various different marks would actually be allocated. And this is based on our knowledge as markers of the QCE exams.
Oh, so would this be like an exemplar question solution?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so there's 5 marks and each tick represents 1 mark. So there should be 5 marks there. Yeah, I can count 5 marks.
And there are 5 marks. Yeah.
Okay, so this is exam question analysis. Okay. Oh, also, this is it. We've also asked, you may have heard of Joel Speranza. I know that's probably an understatement, but we've also formed a partnership with Joel Speranza, and he's going to be making a video of each of these exam question analysis as well. So he'll unpack the question and go through the work solution as we have on paper, but obviously he'll do it in his more engaging way and do it by video, and he'll put his own spin on it as well. So this is Joel's website. Okay, and then when we get to the end of the chapter, we have a chapter summary where we try to condense all the theory that's been learned in the chapter on one page in 2 columns. But being that we're teaching Generation Z/Alpha, we will try to include more diagrams and tables and flow charts and infographics there as well. So we will, there is a lot of text in this one because I guess functions and relations is pretty dry, but in the other chapters, we will try to have a lot more diagrams. Okay, and then something new that we're introducing to this series is instead of having a chapter review and a mixed review after every 4 or 5 chapters, we've replaced it with every chapter is going to end with 2 cumulative exams, which are basically mini QCE exams. So how are they mini QCE exams, Anna?
So how they're QCE mini exams is that we've taken the format of the examination and we've replicated it here, but we've done it at 1/3 of the size. So each of our cumulative exams are worth, I think it's 18 marks, and they cover 50% of the questions are derived from that specific chapter, and the other 50% are derived from chapters that have gone before. So this is an illustration of chapter 3. So you'll see in there that there are a lot of questions around functions and relations, which is this particular topic, but there are also questions there that come from chapters 1 and 2. And we've replicated a technology-free examination, and we've also got the second one, which is utilising technology. But as you can see, the marks are 18 marks, and that is 1/3 of the overall marks that you would get in a normal exam, and they're designed to be done in 30 minutes.
Okay. And I guess we're practicing that technique of interleaving here and I guess retrieval here as well, because we're not just teaching a topic and then we're forgetting about it for the rest of the year. We're always returning to it, aren't we?
Exactly. And you'll also see dispersed across the cumulative exams through the year that we haven't, that we've been very deliberate in selecting all of the various different types of content and concepts and styles of questions that students should be familiar with in coverage of this material. So this is the illustration of the technology active examination, and again, 18 marks with 30 minutes working time.
Okay, yep. Again, this is us making ourselves accountable and being strictly mapped to the syllabus. So this is our syllabus grid for Unit 1. So on the left-hand side, you've got the topics and subtopics in syllabus order, and then on the right-hand side, you've got which chapters they are covered in, and the same with Unit 2 there. So you know where to go. And then at the front of the book, we have a list of mathematical verbs, a glossary of doing words commonly found in maths, and we've also highlighted all the cognitive verbs in the same way that we highlight them in the examples, worked examples. We've got a combined glossary and index at the back of the book there. I've been talking about Nelson MindTap. So it's our digital platform where you can download or watch videos from there. Now, we do have this disclaimer that with Nelson MindTap, you only get access to the content, the resources, if your school adopts Nelson Math. So whether like you book list or class set, like your students use that book. So it's not available for single purchases because with the Nelson MindTap platform, it's up to the teacher to set up the course online, and to allocate the resources to the students. Otherwise, it just won't work. So we've got videos available by flipped classroom teachers. We've got the Joel Speranza videos. We've got worksheets, puzzle sheets, skill sheets. We've got prior learning checks, which are pre-chapter quizzes. We've got an ebook where you can add notes, highlight, and you can even get it to read aloud now using in an Australian voice. And we're also bringing back chapter PDF, so you will get access to a PDF version of this book. And for teachers, we will include topic tests, teaching plans, work solutions to every exercise, which I know is very important, especially with senior maths. And we usually hide them from students, but teachers have the capability to switch it on for them. We've got Cogniro test banks for creating tests and quizzes. And the thing about Nelson MindTap is that you can customize the chapter resources for different groups of students. So you can, as I said before, you can hide content or you can reorder content. You can also add links going out into the World Wide Web or resource that you have created yourself. So basically, Nelson Maths selling point, I guess, is its focus on efficient learning, cumulative revision, and exam preparation. So we've decluttered and chunked the content to reduce the cognitive load of learners. We have precise explanations that get to the point. We use diagrams, infographics, and summary points for visual learners. We have teaching and learning support, especially for new and out-of-field teachers. We have all those cumulative exams, recap questions, and continuous exam practice using spacing, retrieval, and interleaving. And we take the spiral curriculum approach. So math schools are continuously being remet to enhance deep learning and understanding. Just very quickly, the author team. So Lachlan Grierson has been a maths and IT teacher for over 20 years and has worked at Emerald and Warwick Christian colleges. Sam Hodgson is a maths methods marker and teaching at Brisbane State High School, but he also teaches specialist maths and is the school coordinator of Fast Track Maths and Methods Prep course for Year 10 students. Anna Wethereld, who's here, has done a lot of work for QCEA, but she also originally taught at Brisbane State High School and has also worked for NESA as the maths curriculum manager, which means she actually coordinated the new senior maths syllabuses in New South Wales. So then we've got Stephen Swift, the series editor, who's been writing textbooks for a long time with the Swift and Brodie books, Brodie and Swift books, and then Joel Speranza. If you want to know more, we are also having a webinar this Thursday on what's new in essential maths. And then next Tuesday, Anna and I will return with what's new in general maths. We're also going to the QAMT conferences in Rockhampton on Friday week and also on Wednesday, 3rd of July on the Gold Coast. So we will be doing a more general presentation if you want to meet us there. But I'm going to bring on Amanda now, who's going to talk a little bit more about pricing and availability.
Hi, thanks, Robert. So just to let you know that obviously all of our books will be coming out between October and November, with the price point for the printed book is $79.95, and that allows you one digital course access. And we will also have a digital only offer, which is at $29.95, and that gives you a one course digital access offer as well. As Robert did mention previously, we also, it is based on a class set adoption or a book list adoption that allows you access to the Nelson MindTap resources. Next slide, Robert. So if you are looking to obviously have an appointment to have a deeper dive into the textbooks themselves or into the digital components or Cogniro, please feel free to use one of our websites that you can contact us on to request an appointment. And also if you want to put your name down to receive samples. So we are sending out at the moment, the sample chapter that Robert talked about. We've got that we can share that digitally with you. And in July, we will also have page proofs that we can share with you as well. So please feel free to contact us. Next slide.
Okay, yep.
And there's myself, Amanda, and also David Truman is my colleague, who you can contact us direct as well. by phone or by email. And yeah, if you get any questions that you come up with after this session that you're thinking about, please feel free to contact us. We're in constant contact with Robert, who will obviously get one of the authors to help, or he can help if we can't answer your questions. But yeah.